All right, so for those of you joining us today, you are in for an amazing treat because on the line we have Olympic gold medalist, professional pitcher, college softball coach, and Honda Award winner, Danielle Henderson. Amazing, amazing accomplishments, Danielle. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Julie?
I am thrilled to be talking with you, and I'm thrilled that you're going to be sharing some of your insights with our community, our little softball family. Obviously, you got lots to tell us about today, so let's get started.
All right.
So what is it that first piqued your interest in softball and pitching specifically?
I've always played sports growing up. Obviously, like basketball was something that people wanted me to pursue more of, but I liked it. I loved softball. It was my favorite sport from a young child, and I used to play everything, and I wanted to be a pitcher because I wanted to be a part of the game, like every single pitch. So, I did slingshot, and at the time, that's what a lot of people were doing. I did it up until ninth grade in high school, and somebody said if you want to play it in college, you better learn how to throw a windmill.
And who first introduced you to pitching and to windmill?
Bill Edwards was the high school gym teacher at my school, so I remember his daughter would come and Sherry and try to teach us pitching, and I think the first time I attempted windmill, I broke the window in the gym, and I was like, forget this, I'm just sticking with slingshot. So then my travel coach, Kim Guider, she's the one who just broke the news to me. If you're going to play in college and be a pitcher, you have to learn how to do this. So she would just pick me up and take me to open gyms and teach me how to pitch by just sticking me like in the corner in the gym on my knee and just figure out how to do an arm circle and get my release point down.
Wow. And I mean, it's so amazing because I feel like we almost think like now, okay, like, if you're starting lessons at 14, then you're starting so late. I mean, now that's like when the recruiting process starts. It's so crazy.
I always say I wouldn't have been recruited.
Isn't that unbelievable? I mean, that just shows how there are some huge disadvantages to the current recruiting environment for sure.
Absolutely. Some of us smaller schools kind of get to take advantage of what the bigger schools are doing so early because they aren't missing people, and we go out and we kind of do it a little bit later, and we're maybe getting some players to come to our school that might not have.
Yes. And I mean, that's a huge issue, I think, now, is like all the big schools are looking very, very young. But you are Division I, and you're not necessarily looking very young. You said, what time do you usually start the process?
It's something, we start it when they're young. Like, we have 8th graders, 7th, 8th graders coming to our camp, and I think that's the time to start building a relationship with them, and feel like if you at least start tracking them, then you could see if they continue to improve. Some kids might be good at that age and then don't get better, so we just start building a relationship, and somewhere like around 10th or 11th grade, we're going to start recruiting them a little bit more. It becomes tough because some of these young kids get pressure from other schools to make a decision. So we might have to say, hey, we want you to come. Here's our offer. Go do your other search and get back to us when you're ready.
And that's a really tough thing. But I think people are probably surprised and also really inspired by the fact that, hey, you started windmill,
right,
when you were 14, and by 1999, you were the best softball player in the country. Not the best pitcher, But,
Right.
the best softball player, Honda Award winner. In case you guys at home don't know what that means, that's like the best in the entire country, which is unbelievable. Out of everyone. So, I mean, how did you, what worked best for you as a practice routine? And how did you get to that level in really what's a very short period of time, all things considered?
Yeah, sometimes I think back and I'm like, holy cow, that wasn't very long until all of this happened. I think there was a lot. I think it's having a work ethic. And the type of work ethic you have. I didn't just go out and pitch. I always went out with a purpose to get better at something. And I didn't look at failure as an obstacle. You look at failure as a challenge and just a way to just kind of come back and figure out how to overcome that obstacle. And I think just doing that all the time, you wind up achieving something that you might not even have dreamed of. You put yourself in a good position.
Oh my God. It's so incredible. Do you have an example of something where you felt like, hey, I this might be sort of a failure, but I'm seeing it as an opportunity, or I'm seeing it as a challenge?
Right. I always use this example. So, by the time I was a junior in college, I was leading the nation in all pitching categories. I was leading in strikeouts and all of that. So I just had a fastball and a rise ball, a little bit of a change, and the drop, I didn't really, it was whatever. I didn't care. It wasn't good, and I didn't think I needed it. Then we went to the World Series, and Oklahoma State, they could hit the rise. So I had nothing else to go to. I wound up giving up 3 home runs in one game, and, it was devastating, but I went and I looked at my coach and I said, I promise you next year I will have a drop ball. Because it was that moment I realized if I had a drop, I could have figured something else out. And, the drop ball is, I think, what got me on the Olympic team. And now...
Yes, I think that's so funny because, again, for those of you out there who don't know, Danielle has been known as a drop ball pitcher. I feel like, through the Olympics and definitely through your professional career, post-Olympics, I feel like you've definitely been known as a drop ball pitcher. So it's pretty amazing that came from what might typically be looked at as a failure. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's an opportunity to grow, to be better. That's amazing.
Right. It gave me a little bit more of a sense of urgency to get it and to get it fast, because up until that point I was just a rise ball pitcher, and rise balls are a great strikeout pitch, but it's not a very good pitch if it's not striking someone out.
It's true, and it's tough. This is another thing I think would be tough for a lot of people to concede, and I know that I had this conversation with Casey Clark too, where she was like, yeah, I went to college with maybe one pitch. And people are like, what? Do you think we're pushing kids to learn too many pitches too young in general? Or do you think the environment's changed, or do you think that, because it's kind of, I guess, a little bit of both.
Right. I feel like they don't take the time to master a pitch. They don't have, their best pitch isn't their best pitch. They're kind of okay at every pitch, and I think you want to have a pitch that you dominate, you know?
Where it's like your signature.
Right.
You can do that. Amazing.
Right.
Anyone else.
It doesn't matter what it is, but too many kids are, I've learned a drop, now I want another rise, now I want another curve, and it's like, well, get really good at one of those, and I think it's good that they have an idea of how to throw them, but you don't have to throw them all.
Yes. I think what I find a lot of good college coaches do is they'll look, and the kid comes in and is like, I have 21 pitches, or whatever you have 7 pitches, and the good college coach comes in and says, no, you don't. You have this one, this one, this one. Let's focus on these. Let's make you really amazing at these, and and the others will kind of back burner for a while.
Right. It's back burner waste pitch with nobody on base.
Right. Where you have a little room to take some risks, you know what I mean?
Right. You know, and my pitchers, I mean, in a game, we're probably only throwing about 2 or 3 different pitches.
See, I like that mindset a little bit. And then, yeah, like you said, every once in a while you have that opportunity to, like, waste one.
Right.
If you need to. But I think that's great. I mean, what on a daily basis do you feel like when you were making such amazing progress over a short period of time, what inspired you on a daily basis to, like, go out and do it?
I just think that, I don't know, I always want to do my best at things. You know, I feel like I do that in a lot of different areas of life. So if I do something, I'm going to do it my all, you know, and I'm going to do it every single day.
That's awesome. And that's totally how you are as a coach, too. You know, I just feel like you're so into, like, just every element of bringing the team together, the mechanics, like, the whole thing. It's so great. And from my standpoint, you totally inspired me, I know, because, like, the first varsity game I ever saw was you pitching against Lauren Bichetti. And I thought I could never see anything that went faster than that. Like when I saw you two guys pitch against each other. And from that point on, I was like, now I'm really doing this, you know?
Right. You know, in 96 was the first time softball was in the Olympics, and so I was just a freshman in college, and I went and watched it, and I said, oh my God, this is something I want to do, and I went back and told my coach that, and she's like, all right, let's do it.
Don't you love that? And then, of course, in you know, you're in the Sydney Olympics. Like that was the next run, right? That was like unbelievable. So, like, you set an intention, and 4 years later, you're in Sydney winning the Olympic gold medal. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. Oh my God, this is completely amazing.
And it's funny because at that point, as a freshman, all I threw was a fastball, and I think most people would have laughed when I said that, because I wasn't dominating or doing anything. But I think some kids want to do well and want to do things, but it's just you have to just dive in and commit like fully, no matter what happens. And I think sometimes they don't fully commit because they're afraid to fail or do bad or you know or look bad, and you have to not worry about that. My iPad gets possessed sometimes.
I think we've all had our technology possessed at least once or twice. You know, I think that's just now would be a great example for me, since this was take 2 of us trying to record this. So, moving right along. So, because you've done so many amazing things, I mean, winning the Olympic gold medal in Sydney, you know, winning the Honda Award, pitching in the College World Series multiple times, playing professionally, like, does any one thing stand out for you more than another? Like, that you're like, wow, this has been my crowning achievement, this is like my legacy?
It's tough because I feel like they're different things, you know? And it's like saying you love one kid more than another. Different. You know, college kind of, I think, was a catalyst for all of this. So I would think that the first time we went to the World Series is probably the most, the moment I'll remember forever, because I have not went to the World Series, I wouldn't have been asked to try out for a team.
Right, okay.
You know, so I think getting there and doing well, and then be invited to be a part of that process, because at that time there was only, you know, people from like UCLA or Arizona, like only certain schools had people there.
Yes, it was basically like Lisa Fernandez, like, and yeah.
Right. So
all West Coast.
Yeah, that moment opened the door, and I'll never forget that. And I remember, since it was the first time, how all of the fans were going crazy, and like all the support we got. And I think as a softball player, like, you don't always get that, and we were like the big team on campus at that point.
Oh my God, right. Yeah, I mean, you think about that, and now, now it's crazy to think about it because softball was out of the Olympics for some kind of stupid reasons, if you ask me, but that's another conversation. But now that it's back in 2020, and now that Monica Abbott signed like $1 million contract, like finally, and now we're seeing like this move towards like there's a show on Fox coming out called Pitch, and it's focusing, like all this stuff. What do you think that means for like the future of pitching? I mean, I think I'm seeing a huge shift right now.
I am. I think it's all of this is great, and I feel like there's been years building up that kind of allow those doors to be open and those things to happen, and then. Like 5 years ago, you would have never have thought that somebody would sign $1 million contract. Like I think we were hoping for like 20,000. And so I can't wait to see what other doors that this opens, because the more popular it is on TV with the college softball and all of that, I think that more kids want to be on ESPN, and and the more they want to be on it, the more kids are going to play, and it's just, I see it just getting better.
I think this is just opening, it's also, I feel like, opening a whole new dialogue about women in sports, because I feel like seeing Jenny Finch go ahead and like strike out some MLB guys is one thing, but, Jenny Finch is an amazing ambassador for the sport. She's a brand, you know what I mean?
Right.
But to see someone sign $1 million contract to play her sport, and not because of good branding and like, all this other sort of stuff, like that's an amazing thing, especially, most professional softball pitchers, where they say it's like $6,000 a season or something like that.
Right. It is, and I think softball pitching itself just kind of starting to shift, and I feel like you're going to see more staffs, so different type of pitchers, or you're not going to need to just throw 70 miles an hour. I think that you're going to need all different shapes, sizes, styles of pitchers out there. So I see the game changing. I saw it starting to change when everything went to like best of 3 series.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's so good. I mean, that's such a good insight. It makes so much sense, and I feel like you're saving a lot of arms that way. That you're not having a kid throw. I mean, I feel like especially when softball first came on, you would throw. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's a natural motion. It's a natural motion," and you would have one girl throw, the double header. Like one girl would throw the double header.
Right. That was me.
Right. It's like crazy. Thank God your arm is in one piece. It's all good.
Well, part of this though, I think, because I started later, I feel like my body, my muscles were already developed where I could handle that load. Now we have kids that are so young, throwing so many pitches that they can't, their body's not strong enough to do it. And in college right now, we're starting to see the problem with these kids that have had overuse. Like they shouldn't be hurt after 1 year of college.
No, I agree 100%. I think there's no circumstance under which a 9-year-old should be pitching 3 or 4 games in a weekend, but that happens a lot.
Right.
That happens a lot.
Right.
So it's something that I think people need to be more aware of, and they need to be cognizant when they're working with children.
Yeah.
That's because they can't bring those children to you and then have you hurt. Have them hurt. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's frustrating. I know a lot of college coaches have to go through this, and I told some of our players that a year of college softball with lifting and throwing did not cause the wear and tear in your knee, in your shoulder. Like it's not possible.
Yeah, that's not a shot. No. It's not like you're talking about sudden injuries that are happening when you're like sliding into home or something like that. You're talking about something that hit a threshold and now you have a problem,
Right.
You're seeing more and more and more of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, and now with recruiting, like what do you think you're looking for most specifically when you're recruiting pitchers?
I look at a couple things. Sorry, it'll point back to me in a second. Again, there we go. The iPad likes to switch with camera.
Danielle's iPad is haunted.
I'm not even touching it. So, I look for a pitcher's like mindset and how they act on the mound is the first thing that stands out to me. And the second thing that stands out to me is, does the ball explode out of their hand? And can they get better when I get them in college?
I think that's a really good way of saying things like, okay, are they, X amount of miles an hour fast, but does the ball explode out of their hands? Like, right. What to you would be the difference there?
Because I think when the ball, you have to explode at the end of your pitch. And some people I think coast through it. And so when there's no explosion of anything, I feel like you're not going to get a lot of movement and a lot of spin. So we want some speed, but I don't want a pitcher to just muscle the ball through. I want them to be able to snap a pitch off and make it break.
Yes.
So, that's kind of the difference that I see.
Yeah, I think that attitude is a really under-emphasized area, too, of college recruiting, especially because pitchers can have that reputation of being a little bit of a prima donna, right? I mean,
right.
That does tend to happen. I mean, have you ever not recruited someone because of attitude?
Absolutely.
No hesitation.
Yeah. I saw a pitcher throwing, and just the way she was interacting with her dad who was catching, I just didn't like her attitude. I didn't think she would be a very good teammate, wouldn't be a very hard worker, and and asking some of her coaches, because she has jumped around from teams, that was absolutely a correct statement.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's a red flag, jumping from team to team all the time. Yeah.
Right, team to team, pitching coach to pitching coach. I'm gonna get this thing to face me in a minute. It just
that's okay. There you are. You're beautiful.
It starts typing without me touching it either. It turns on apps and stuff. So I'll just keep talking, and maybe it'll calm down.
Maybe you have to talk nice to it. Be like, just chill out. I
think it's a problem with iPads. I read online, but I thought it was like there was a ghost maybe typing it. But there's a. Speaking of like the games and seeing pitchers, I also want to see if they're competitive. And some pitchers are just good mechanics, but they're not willing to compete.
Yes.
So I don't want a scared pitcher out on the mound. So when I see them in a game and I see them kind of timid and that kind of, I don't really pursue it much more.
I mean, that makes so much sense because it's tough. I mean, because you certainly have to master certain things with mechanics, but I think I've seen a lot of people in the softball community ignore the mental aspect of the game for years and years and years, and then there's always sort of that underlying issue, and then when they get to the next level, they sort of like collapse under that pressure. You know what I mean? Tori Nyberg was saying about how you should train the mental aspect of the game every single day, and I'm like, yes, that makes so much sense. If you're training your body every day, you have to make sure the mind is with you, as it were.
Right. And, you don't have to sit there for an hour and just do it. It's little things in your pitching workout in terms of how to get them to execute a pitch and talking them through their breathing, where their focus is, and how they get all of that. That's working on it, And then you throw in putting them in pressure situations, and that's how you get it. And sometimes I can't put them in a pressure situation, but I'll do things to get their heart rate up.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Well, give a good example.
Well, so it started back with the old basketball practice when you're younger, where you get on the line, you take a foul shot. If you miss, everybody's running a suicide.
That's right, yeah.
You know, so I started doing that with the pitchers. So it wasn't a suicide, but it's a sprint, and I might give them a full count, so they only have one chance to get the pitch.
Wow.
Right.
Okay,
They don't get
pitchers
it.
out there, do that. Write that down. That is gold right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it helped because sometimes we're doing a lot of sprints, but I'm not doing it to punish them. I'm doing it when they get back on the mound. I tell them to take a slow breath. You know, slow your heart rate down, take a slow breath, and throw the pitch.
Do you feel like you personally pitch better when you're calm or when you're kind of more agitated, or is it somewhere in between for you?
It's an in between, but I feel like I have to get a little bit of agitation. There's something to, you know, I give up a home run, that next batter is going to pay. You know, and
I'll be writing this down at home.
Right, like that's how it was. And when I wasn't pitching well, I remember giving up a home run and thinking, oh boy. And I didn't go after the next person. I kind of like pitched around them, and then you get yourself in a hole. But I would get so mad, and I didn't care what the pitch is, and I was just going to get that next batter out.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think that is part of what's missing a little bit in the mental game sometimes. People say it's all about confidence, but I don't know that it's all about confidence. Like, you have to have that bit of aggressiveness and that bit of, like, you really want it, you know, and you're willing to go after it no matter what. That's sometimes hard to teach, you know, sometimes hard to teach.
It is, and, you know, that's why I like watching the games. I like seeing them fail in the game because I want to see how they're going to react.
Yes. Especially when you're recruiting, that's got to be, like, the biggest thing, right?
Right. It's like, oh, she gave up a home run. Ooh, let's see what she does now.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, these are things, I think it just helps solve, there's always that person, well, she pitches well in the bullpen, but the moment she gets in a game, she falls apart. And I think that some people just go by how hard a pitcher throws, maybe what their stats are, but if you want to get them to be able to perform well in a game, you have to look for those things.
I love that. And I feel like that's something that not a lot of college coaches are talking about, like, you know, because I definitely ask people all the time, what are you looking for, and what do you know, and that's such great insight. Because I feel like a lot of people tend to give what you want to hear is, well, I'm looking for this attitude, and I'm looking for this mile per hour, you know, which I think that's not wrong, but they're not saying specifically, okay, how do you react to that? I love that.
Right. And it's a big, in pitching, you're going to fail. In anything in softball you are. And as a pitcher, you're kind of in the middle, and you're the center of attention. So how you respond to that is going to be how the team responds to that.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, you have been such an amazing inspiration to so many people. I mean, I feel like I know the answer to this, but who is the coach that most inspired you and you feel like go to? I kind of know the answer to that.
My college coach, Elaine Sortino, did. You know, I think I kind of meshed well with her style of coaching, which was just always pushing me. You know, and sometimes to the point where I would get aggravated, like in a pitching workout, because she might want me to throw a fastball low and in. I hit it low and in. Nope, you didn't get it because you didn't throw it as hard as you can. It's like, you know, so I would have to keep throwing a pitch until I got it perfect. But she was, she probably could see my personality and was able to kind of push my buttons to get me fired up all the time to, you know, wanna prove her wrong or, you know.
Yes, I could see that. I mean, I think that's part of what makes a great coach is knowing how each individual athlete is going to respond.
Yeah.
And she was, she's a Hall of Fame coach, you know, like, she's unbelievable. I mean, that's amazing to have someone like that in your life, you know.
Right. You know what, like And all of the players always felt that about her. She was always committed. She was 100% committed to making every single player better. You know, and if you were committed to making yourself better, that's, I think, what made a great match. You know, because some players, she's committed to making them better, but they're not fully committed to making themselves the best. And, you know, that might not work, but she was the first one that was on board with helping me achieve my dreams. And, you know, while everybody else thought it was a stupid idea, she was the only one. Well, because at the point, who's going to want a 60-mile-an-hour fastball pitcher? You know?
But, yeah, doesn't it feel good to prove them wrong? Like, that's an amazing feeling, right? What are your thoughts now on playing multiple sports and weight training, you know, and all of that, especially, you know, pre-collegiately?
I think it just makes you a better athlete to play many sports.
Yes.
You know, and then we bring them to the weight room, and we want them to be an athlete and do some of these things, and they are not strong in certain areas and stuff like that. So to have a baseline of strength, we can definitely tell the freshmen out from the rest of the team what we do stuff in the weight room. But I mean, when you play so many sports, we have a freshman now who's like one of the best athletes on the team, and that's because she was a 3-sport athlete all through high school.
Yes. And I think it's so funny because kids tend to think the opposite. They're like, well, I can't play these other sports because they're taking up so much time. Or their idiot travel coach is like, well, you know, you're 13, so you have to specialize in just softball, you know, and it's like, you gotta be kidding. You're damaging this kid's career, you know, that way, ultimately. I also find personally that the younger kids tend to be, I'm going to say weight training, but I don't mean necessarily just exclusively weight training. I think it's also just like any sort of dynamic movements, any sort of speed training, high intensity intervals. A lot of them tend to be like scared of it, shy away from it, or think like, I don't need this isn't going to help me, you know. And again, I feel like that's just, you're hurting yourself there. Instead, you think throwing 4 games in a weekend is going to be helpful to you. And that's what's going to wear you down by the time you get to college. You know?
Right. I had a physical therapist say something because my shoulder was tight. I'm like, well, should I do, you know, rotator cuff? He says, work your core and your back, and then you do the little muscles because your body uses the main muscles as a source of energy first. So a little muscle is going to wear out quickly. So I don't think they understand that the weight training is making them healthy by getting their whole body stronger.
Yes. Are you a big believer in prehab? You know, for prehab, in case you guys don't know, it's basically making sure you do specific injuries to specific weight training to make sure you prevent injuries down the road.
Yes. Absolutely. And you know, our kids, they have to roll out on the foam roller before they even start lifting. They don't just go to the weight room and go hit the squat rack. Like they're rolling out, and they have to warm up. She puts them through like a little dynamic warm up, and sometimes it's just getting the hip mobility by stepping over hurdles, under hurdles. Like they're always moving before they get there and start doing the lifts.
I love that, and I love for hip mobility for pitchers. I think is so important and so underutilized, right? I mean, don't you feel like most kids that when they have problems, it's sort of stemming from that ab area and it's stemming from where their hips sit a lot of the time, I feel like.
Absolutely. And that's the main like source of your power, your stability, that sets your body up in the right angle. So if you're weak there, your mechanics are probably going to be a little bit off.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Exactly. What advice can you give to young pitchers out there who want to play at an elite level, who see you as an inspiration, want to follow in your footsteps?
You know, it's the same thing I tell my team. Like, practice with a purpose. You don't have to be out there for hours and hours and throwing. Like, it's not about the number of pitches that you're throwing. It's just about a good quality and just doing it with a purpose, you know, and it just has to be one thing. It might be if there's a mechanical issue you're working on, just spend some time making that better. And you know, so many times they just go out, how many pitches should I throw today? And they're in the backyard just practicing like 100 pitches with mom or dad catching and getting them to just hit a location. And, you know, you went through the motion, but did you get better at anything?
I agree. I feel like the best way to practice is to say, okay, so we are going out today and we are going to make sure that I get my plant down properly and that I'm straightening my front leg, and I'm not going to stop until I'm able to accomplish that, or something like that, because I feel the same way. You go for numbers and you're less effective then, just overall. It's crazy.
And then it makes fixing whatever the problem is harder because now you've just done more bad repetition.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, that's just a really, really awesome way of putting it. What other messages do you feel like you have for our listeners out there, our pitchers?
You know, that sometimes it's going to be hard, you know, because you're going to feel good and everything, and you might have a bad game, or sometimes you might be pitching great, but your defense does pour behind you, and you know, you could control how you act out there and what your mentality is. So keep working on that. Make that part of your routine so that when things go wrong, you're not getting mad at the umpire, you're not getting mad at your shortstop for, you know, making an error, and, you know, just kind of get your routine, get your release so you can go back and just focus on one pitch at a time. And I always tell them it doesn't matter what the last pitch was, because you can't take that back, good or bad. So,
yes. The only thing you could change is the present, right?
Right. You could only work on the one pitch you're going to throw. Like, it doesn't matter if you threw the best pitch the pitch before. You can't take it back.
And this is what makes Danielle an amazing coach in addition to an amazing player. So Danielle, I want to thank you so much. This has been so amazing. Like, I think this is like invaluable for all these athletes out there who really want to do their best. I mean, in addition to all this amazing stuff that Danielle's done as a player, she's also, you know, coached at Ohio State, coached at Stanford, coached at UMass, then now head coach at UMass Lowell. I mean, so you are getting a lifetime's worth of amazing experience here today, guys. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.